Nate,
That's fine.
take it away.
How long do you think it'll take, Nate?
Wait for. I'll do it as quickly as possible
Well, you got all my attention. I just was
And passionately, right?
exactly.
and passionately.
There
That's
we go.
right.
I just know you cover a lot.
Something I have to remind is that I'm not representing a department. I'm representing a branch of government. So that requires some passion
And a bunch of personalities,
and a bunch of personality.
all great judges.
I'm going to go home and get me a jacket.
How different is this from the other day?
Cold and old and
Like-
cold.
Okay, good.
Get old, your blood gets thick.
Are we going to do all the CCLs at once or one at a time?
I have a slide where we're going to talk about that.
So you're representing CCLs, the district
courts,
judges, and
court
Court
office
ops.
and office of court administration. Yeah.
indigent defense, the whole 9 yards.
You're right. The only courts you're not hearing from me on are the JPs. So
Got it.
The more I thought about that, the more I thought. All right. Okay. Nathan, take it away.
Amanda, are we ready? Or
I think she's still trying to
She's
get it.
scrambling.
Yeah.
no, I
Record a little
understand.
one.
And-
Yes.
And just to let you all know, I do have page numbers at the bottom right of my PowerPoint. So if you need to
Do you have this, Charlie?
a reference on what we're looking at, have
Thank
that there as well.
How are you?
Thank you, ma'am.
Great. Told you. Got it. Nate, it sure would be easier if you just said we accept the budget.
I
officers
know it would be
recommended.
easy. Sometimes things are worth going through, though.
Absolutely. Well, and to highlight the accomplishments of the judges and the courts,
That's included in
important.
this as well. Yeah, I think it's important for y'all to know that.
to see the disposition rate and
Time to disposition. I tell the judges your currency is not necessarily the number of cases; it's how much time you have to handle those cases. So,
thank you very much.
Yeah.
Man alive.
and this is actually good because if there were any judges that wanted to come, this gives them time. Because I told them 11 o'clock. So,
Perfect. Do we expect any to show up?
I don't know. This might be the first year where we don't have a judge behind me.
It means they trust you.
They're in good hands.
I would hope so. I'd hope so.
Whew.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Well, they had to come up with some way to link.
So just to give you, Nate's going to give his update on the court operations and go through the judges' budgets, and then what I need to do is talk to you guys about a little pay thing that we found out.
A little what?
A little pay remember I told you about the judicial pay for the CCLs changing in this legislation. So I'll give you guys an update on what the research we've done on that. But we'll let Nate start with his.
No, I don't have yeah. So
Why don't you go ahead and
are
start?
you only giving us courts 3, 4, and 5? Oh, no, here's county court 1.
Thank you.
You should.
I don't have
We have them
2.
all. Oh, here, I've got an extra 2 here.
Oh, that's fine.
There you go. All right.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Got 'em?
And then you got court operations,
Operations.
and then all district judges are coming.
She made a copy this morning. She made a copy this morning.
Sure got a lot of paperwork. This means it's going to be a
Man.
while.
And that's what I'm.
I've found that the thicker the packet, sometimes the shorter it goes because you got all the
hope you're
numbers.
right.
It's just
at
Nate
hand.
represents, all of the CCLs, all the district judges, and then he has court administration, court operations, and indigent defense all under him. So he's doing like 12, 13, 14, 15 budgets
15
right now.
departments, yeah. Not counting special revenue, which I'm not going to cover, so you're good.
Yeah, those were all.
Yeah, those are all fine. Those are all
Little bit
taken
of money,
care of.
and yeah,
little chunks, but
That's what
it adds
we
up.
talked about.
Yeah,
You-
I've talked with Noack how you also changed your, moving the court operations, paying more.
Centralizing
Right.
payment of the.
well, I was trying to figure out. Some want them electronic, some want paper, some
Right.
spend money in different line items, and
Some
so I was asking all
use
these
a different
questions.
vendor, Westlaw versus Lexus, so their charges are different. So,
Yeah.
Louisa, do you want to tell me when you're ready, or are we good? Okay.
435th is where she's at,
Oh, good.
and the new one is 457.
457. We're going to talk about that in the presentation.
457.
Where are they going to be, Nate?
Right.
We're going to talk about that too, because we are running out of space.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. Yeah,
I thought we talked about it before and we had room for them. Somewhere.
we do. It's just that it's currently an overflow courtroom.
Yeah.
Which means that if we lose that, then the felony dockets have nowhere to hear their dockets while they're in trial. So that the engine slows down if we don't make some accommodation for that.
Wow.
All righty.
Thank you.
So, just to get started, I have in the PowerPoint and the lower right-hand corner page numbers for reference, because I'm going to be not jumping around a lot. We're going to take it systematically, but if you're looking at page numbers, they're on the lower right-hand corner. And then also in the upper right-hand corner, I'm going to have the constitutional or statutory reference point for the obligation to fund these things. So as you can see here, we've been growing over the past 4 years, forever. It's been we saw a 7.5% increase in felony cases between calendar 17 and 18, 10.8% in misdemeanors, 11% in civil, and 2% in family. The only case type that has not been batting 100%, or batting 1,000, I guess would be the correct way of saying it, is civil, which last year was at 90%, or below 90%, 89%. And then, of course, as was mentioned, the 457th has come online, has been created by the legislature. These are the current active pending cases as of June 30th for all the case types, as well as a indication of how many judges are handling those active pending cases. As you can see, when you divide those, you do cases by judge. Civil has the highest caseload per judge, and a lot of these are not necessarily easy small claims cases. These are complex litigation where you've got multiple parties, different competing attorneys, et cetera.
Has the civil case per judge gone down with Judge Bays now coming on board? I know she's
It
working.
has gone down about 150 cases per judge And she's been doing great. She's been, has 116% clearance rate. You see that when longtime incumbents leave and new ones come in, is there's, they change the document practices and they want to get, the dead wood of cases out of their court. They do that.
That was a strange reference.
Deadwood? Oh, wood. Oh, I hadn't thought about that. That
I
was,
was like, hey, we
oh,
got to
wow.
be nice.
That was not intentional. So as you can see here, I like to make a record that Commissioner Nowak pointed that out. And
No, I
did not.
I was glad that it wasn't on purpose.
He's got a weird sense of humor.
She did a great job.
You teed him up pretty good on that day.
Well, thank you. The red chart here is incoming felony cases between calendar year 15 and 18. Orange is misdemeanor, blue is civil, and purple is family. Obviously, the family cases are increasing at a slower rate than everything else is, so they're able to be handled a little bit better. Court operations. This is pages 107 to 109. This is the big costs. You can see here the things that court operations pays for, including the attorney's fees on criminal cases and some family cases. And those are listed out there. I'm in agreement generally with the preliminary budget for court operations, but there are some things that need to be noted. The felony contract defender amount, I do not know why it was lowered by the budget office, but the actual contractual amount is $3.12 million. It's budgeted in the preliminary budget at $2.7 million. So these are contracts that are already in place for a specific amount, which means that we would be needing to add $420,000 in that line alone.
What line is that?
It's it's Department 465 740-223. 107, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't show anything for 17, 8, or 18.
This program was approved by the court
Or
back
19.
Judge, when you're looking at actuals,
Okay.
that's the finance system. That's the easy answer.
Yeah.
The good news is the next few years when we go towards Infor, you'll actually have a better idea of what it's cost. Like, it's going to be a lot easier to read how much the true costs are for indigent defense. Right now, what they do is we put a bucket of money in the 465 budget, and then we actually, to keep up with the charges, we actually do charge each court, if it's a civil or a criminal, each line. So there may be, so there's actually, when you try to find the actuals, you actually have to look in all
the individual
all 12
courts.
cost centers. Well, actually, all almost 24 cost centers.
So that's something that the Texas Indigent Defense Commission, in order to track it properly in accordance with their requirements, we have to break it out like that. It's not, we can't just say one lump sum. This is how much we.
So it looks funny because it looks like it's zero in previous years, but you really just have to add the other pay. It's the new system will be able to kind of do it a different way, where we'll actually be able to show that the cost for that department as a whole, and still show the cost broken out as well.
Yeah,
And
this line only started in fiscal 17 as well, because we have to track contract attorney and contract defender program differently than we do if we just assigned attorneys on a wheel.
Well, the reason I'm asking is because this, based upon that, what you're telling us is we're off $420,000.
Correct. That the contract amount is $3.12 million.
Amanda?
Okay, so
How did we miss that?
Okay, if you fund every single, so the way that the current system works is they have a certain amount of attorneys. They each have a contract amount for 25. What's the caseload?
So there are 95 defendants. They're each paid $70,000, $75,000 if they're a Spanish speaker.
And so what Nate's saying is, if we were to use the full contract would cost you $3.1 million. If we used every single contract. Some of them, you are using the full for some attorneys, you are using the full contract. For some of the attorneys, you're not using the full contract, and some of the other attorneys have to pick up some of that caseload.
I disagree with that because each attorney, the 70,000 is a flat fee amount broken out over 26 pay periods. So that there's no attorney that's not getting paid that amount.
So
Each of those
they get paid that amount no matter how many cases they get.
They all get 95 defendants within the contract. They all meet their cap.
So here's my question, because
Yeah.
I looked at each individual court. So, for example, the 359th through the last time I ran a report, which was 7/8 of 19, that court had $573,384 in their contract line. So
Right.
that's the 74022
Okay.
right here.
Well,
And-
74022 is actually not the contract. That's that's outside the contract.
No, that's appointed is seven. Okay, you're right. 74022, 74023.
223 would be
Yeah,
the
yeah.
contract.
So the contract for 573,384. So that is for the 359th. The 9th is at 576,076. The 221st is at 581,000, and then the 435th is at 584. So all four of those courts are under 600,000. 600,000 times 4 would be 2.4 million.
You also have to remember that the contract starts July 1st.
Yeah.
So you have 3 months of
Still
of additional.
I understand, but
Right.
here's what I'm trying to get at is I remember when the district judges came in, they spoke about going to this. It was supposed to save us money,
And I can show you where it is in the next slide, but go ahead.
But and what is interesting to me is the way that, and please, if I'm incorrect, let me know. But as police, our law enforcement, they're out every day. They make arrests. Charges get filed. DA accepts the charges. District clerk assigns a case.
Correct.
Cases are assigned at random.
Correct.
How can you tell? I don't understand how just by statistical probability that you're going to tell me that each of the courts just happen to get an exact amount of people that are in need of indigent defense. That's where.
Wait, are you saying that?
So statistically, one court should have, one of those courts, or they can't all have about the same amount of needs for indigent defense. I mean, we don't have that many. That's what I'm trying to. How does
Right.
the contract work so well when maybe the 221st happens to get a bunch of criminals that can pay for themselves, but if you look at it here, they're all about the same. So how does that work?
It is actually there's an indigency rate that the county has, and it's about I think 75% on felonies and it's about 50% on misdemeanors. That rate bears out in all the courts. There isn't any one court that is, and I think that's because we have an Office of Indigent Defense, because they're interviewing and the judges aren't using their discretion to say, well, you didn't meet our guidelines, but we're going to grant you anyway. They're not using that discretion as widely as perhaps we have in the past or other counties do, but it does balance out to where.
It just seems
you
strange
have-
that you would have the same exact amount per court when.
Well,
Or almost
if
the
it's the
same.
contract, it should be, because each court has the same number of attorneys.
But it's strange that they'd
appointed
be
to the-
assigned cases that
Oh,
all are in need of indigent defense.
you would think
you
that
know.
one would have more indigent.
Yeah, one would have
defendants than the other
exactly
one.
just based on how they get randomly assigned. And
because
so,
of the volume. No, it's pretty much
And-
across the board. You're going to have so many
Office is
denials
assigning
and
the
so
cases,
many.
correct?
I'm sorry?
Office of Indigent Defense is assigning the cases.
No, district clerk assigns the cases
Okay,
to,
well,
to the
wherever
courts.
it's being assigned.
Yeah.
So, because I'm trying to get my head around it too, is as they assign them, they assign this one is one particular type, this is that same particular type, this is that same particular type, Now let's move on to this type over here, and he just, whoever it is, just continues to assign them accordingly, so you come up with your total, correct?
They all get interviewed, and they all move through the process and through the system, and those differences that you listed between the courts are the differences in indigency rate.
Yeah, and
between
it's
the
just a
courts.
very, very,
It's
very
very slight.
small amount.
Okay, so here's Nate on his request in the 74022 line. He lumped if I'm understanding,
no,
he
that's correct.
lumped the appointed attorney and the contract attorney. You can see that the request from Nate was $4 million. If you look at your page on 107, the budget office, after looking to actually where the expenses hit, noticed that he requested $4 million. We gave him $3,850,000.
Exactly.
So whether or not we budgeted for the 3.12 contract, I think it's just shifting those numbers around. We came up with what we were using the best estimate of using actual trends.
As long as we get to the end of the contract and we can
it's
pay for it,
$150,000
that's all that really matters.
So was going in today,
okay.
I met with Nate and the Board of Judges, and the Board of Judges, they have a budget committee. We met and we discussed, the fact that my trending was probably off because of the fact that there is a delay in payment processing, which
Right.
and so the $150,000 for us is based on the delay of payment processing. I kind of told you guys, gave you a heads up that was going to be an issue, some of you, and so that's really my understanding is for the contract attorney, appointed attorney, the difference today is not the $420,000, it's the $150,000.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay.
Correct. And Nate,
Yeah,
the difference
and that's fine. I just want to get to the end of the contract and make sure that it's
everybody
all covered.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you have. So can you explain? And so each of the courts that I mentioned, so the four that do criminal,
Felony.
they also have appointed. The appointed versus the contract line.
Correct.
Can you
So-
explain the difference?
So the contract covers everything but appeals and capital cases. And it also does not cover days in trial for continual sexual abuse of a child or aggravated sexual assault. All of those cases go to trial. And so they get paid $750 per day on top of their contract for being in trial for those types of cases.
And there is greater disparity in the appointed. So the
Right.
ninth is at 50,000, and
Because some are going to have
it's-
appeals and some aren't going to have appeals.
Exactly.
And some are going to have more capitals that are going to be finished this year versus, ones that aren't ready for next year.
So, because my question was going to be, are any of those because they don't have enough in the contract to cover? Is that why they're appointed? But that's not
No.
it.
Well, okay, so that was part of this year as well, because we were short on average about 3 weeks. We were short last year on average about a month and a half. We're constantly improving on getting closer to the end of the year with the contract. The problem is the cases just keep getting filed faster and faster and faster.
Are we getting these?
Which
Are we getting the attorneys paid more quickly now? Because I had received
are.
some complaints from the actual attorneys that
Yes.
they weren't getting paid timely.
So we have what we did have was they were submitting their vouchers online, and those vouchers would be paid at Commissioner's Court time. Some attorneys sometimes would get their vouchers in late, or the judge might approve a little bit late, and it would kick it back to the Commissioner's Court 2 weeks later. We now have a system where my office is basically creating a PO for each attorney, and we're paying all of them timely, and we're getting them all caught up so that we can actually forecast the budget properly
Good.
and project properly.
How do we stand versus other counties? I mean, are we? It's one of these costs that I think the judges and you are doing as good a job as possible
Yeah.
trying to keep it in line. Is there
So-
anything we can do more?
So really quickly, and I'll go back to the slide here in a minute. The orange bars are columns are our cost per case over the past 4 years. It has dropped from $1,100 to just under $900 per case, which is marvelous. It's quite low. It's never been this consistent, actually, to have it that low. And all this while the cases have been increasing. So I think the contract defender system, that's what I would directly attribute this to, is to a greater ability to say that, or to get to a good average cost per case. Whereas before, it used to be that all four courts had different costs per case, and it was
Right.
and you could see who was paying more than another judge.
Bye.
So yeah, I would definitely attribute it to.
So the judges were right. This did save money. The issue is we just had more and more cases filed. So-
Correct. Exactly. Yeah, the cases have gone
Save
up.
money on this.
Yeah, exceptionally. One
We
thing I
need to
also
have,
want,
we just need to
But they're
arrest
clearing out a
people
lot
that
of
have money.
cases. Nate, they've cleared out a lot of cases.
I wish that there was
Bills, right?
a formula for every deputy the deputy position you create. It creates X amount of dollars in the court operations budget, but I don't think it's that consistent of a charge that you can do it. But just to say, it's going to affect you.
Well, that's what even Brett has said. You know, every lane mile. If there were a calculation that says for every lane mile that you put down or every number of homes you build, you know how many.
How many
you
cases
need a
you're
law
gonna get
enforcement
filed.
officer. You need a judge. You need
Yeah.
That-
The other line I'm asking for in court ops, the line 740221, other litigation. This pays for witness costs for the defense if they need to bring a witness in for trial. It pays for postage. It pays if the defendant doesn't have a suit. The attorney can ask the judge, can the county provide some money for my defense of this individual by buying a suit? We are currently projected out to finish this year at $36,220. The preliminary budget has the line at $20,000. I'd recommend that we go up to 40 on that.
It has been higher before. That's one, again, we just
fluctuates.
It fluctuates. It can, one or two cases can really, mean a difference in this. In 2015, we were looking. 2015, this line did get up to 34,000. So we actually are, in the preliminary budget have it at 16,000. Nate, you requested
Oh, okay.
20.
Yeah.
At the time we were looking, if you guys wanted to do, a little bit more, that would be basically for Nate. That's more on the felony cases. That's kind of a contingency item for him. He may use it, he may not, but when he does use it, it can get pretty.
I just say you come to us. We're going to do this mid-year
Yeah.
review. Let's look at it in the middle of the year and see where we stand.
That's fine.
What do you use overtime for? The 7104. There's 10,000 in overtime.
That's in your budget, Nate.
465 7104.
Court operations.
So I believe this is, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the part of the stipend for Judge D'Amico to do weekends at the jail
Good.
for
Well, he's worth every penny if that's what
for
it's
probable cause. I believe that's what that's for. It's not technically overtime, but it's it's a stipend.
Got it.
We have to count it that way.
Is that right, Amanda? Or
I'll have to get payroll to pull some over. Yeah, between us and the auditor's office and the treasurer's office, we'll figure what it's exactly.
and then the Pettit jury fund and the
Before we do that, can we revisit the 20 to 40,000 number?
Yeah.
'Cause you're saying it's 20, you're saying it's 16.
Nate's
I
actually
guess we've just decided we're not going to do it.
Nate's
then we've
requesting
moved on.
40,000.
I'm requesting it go up to 40.
That's what I'm,
Yeah.
okay. But regardless of whether it's 16 or 20. She's showing on here on line 740221, right? Isn't that the number?
Correct.
Yeah, you're showing 16,000. Your number down there is showing 20. You're wanting to bump it to 40. So is it going from 16 to 40? You wanting it from 16 to 40 or 16 to 36 or what? And then explain again what it is.
Right. So 16 to 36 would be fine. I think we could do it with that. It's projected to be 36 this year, 36,220. At least that's what I have, and it pays for defense costs related to bringing a witness in for trial, getting postage if they need large postage for witnesses, for subpoenas, for all this stuff, and for buying appropriate clothing for court if their defendant doesn't have a suit.
So it's an actual expense.
Right. These are all actual expenses that the defense attorney can ask the judge, can you approve this for me?
Amanda, how does this budget play out? Is there money left over at the end of the year, or are we right
in
on the
court- in
money?
court
What
op-
happens with it?
In court operations, no, last year, if you remember last year, I came to you guys because it was really short.
And I'm projecting it to be short this year, not as bad as last year, but it's
I have
already
been-
at 90% expended or something like
I
that.
have been going to the Board of Judges meetings to kind of see what Nate's updates are regarding, because he's updating the Board of Judges every month on where they are on the financial. Last year, they blew the budget. This year, we already increased their budget from one year over the other, 315,000. And then if you guys want to do the additional 150, that's put you at 465. So almost $500,000 that you guys are giving more in 2020 than you did in FY19.
But, well,
So how does that relate to the line 740221?
right now, in 740221, there's 20,000 was allocated for the
Right.
current budget year, and not a
Correct.
penny has been spent yet. So I'm not sure
No.
what.
No, you're saying you're tracking for
That's the problem
36,000.
Look at
again,
it
is
like that.
Is it's broken
Well,
out into the court departments.
Okay,
It's
the way
not
it's
here.
reflected here,
I
so
know.
we need to have it, can we not track it a better way?
You cannot in this current finance
That was the
system
same issue I
requires
said
you.
on
Yeah,
the
'cause
other
there's
deal,
nothing
because you
there.
can't tell what's there.
I know.
So-
Trust me.
But the real number you're saying is tracking for
Next year-
36,000.
Yeah, next year will be better. And
Yes.
I think we just say we visited budget year, mid-year, because we get them enough to at least get halfway there, and we'll see what happens.
His number didn't you just say your
It's a
number right now is going to be
contingency item for-
36,000 for 19?
I'm projected for 1936,220.
Okay, so I guess
It-
Commissioner Nowak's question is, where are you at? I was
Let's
under
see
the
what
impression
you
you're tracking to
actually
hit the
spent.
36.
All right, I'm going to need glasses before too long. So right now we've spent 28, 28,000.
You're tracking to hit 36.
So through the end of the year, and it does have, and Amanda is right. It does fluctuate. There's a charge here and a charge there.
To look at every.
But this last, 25,000 of that alone was in period 9, so in June.
Okay.
So it's
Hence
it's
the
hard
reason
to-
you see the reduction on my part, because I didn't, I was looking at trending. We finished our preliminary budget at the end of May. So, I mean, looking at actuals. And so
Yeah, thank you.
that's a big portion of it. Again, I don't know if it was a one-time 20,000.
28,000, yeah.
But
Yeah.
it is one of those, it's a contingency item for indigent defense. If you need something, that is beyond just the normal business, day-to-day business of,
attorney fees.
I say
Attorney
leave it
fees.
funded at 20,000 or whatever you
I
funded
have it
it
at
at.
16.
And
We'll run
that's
it as
fine.
a
I can come
contingency
back if there's
item.
an issue.
Yeah.
It's similar to like a change of venue item where we have to leave the county because of a lot of press on a case, and then we come to you and you say, can we get $5,000 to?
Because some of the
Move
courts are
Galveston
like
or-
$200 they spent. One just happened to spend 25,000 this year.
Correct.
The
Okay, now
410th, I
again,
think.
Correct.
she's showing the base at 20, then for 20, and then show on the department request, and the preliminary for 16. So if we leave it at 20,
Yeah.
is that what you're talking about, Commissioner?
No, I'm saying just leave it at the 16.
Leave it
We'll
at 16 and
we'll-
revisit.
Mid-year, we'll
And-
revisit it.
And that's fine. We can just
We can do that.
certainly
I'm just-
get
that's
to
not what I
March
said. That's
on
all I'm asking.
16,000.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. I'm in agreement with that. How about you, Commissioner?
We'll revisit it.
Let's go.
Okay. Something else also with felony that has improved is time to disposition. This affects y'all because of the jail, how long they're
Oh, for sure.
they're staying in the jail. We've dropped the color to look at is purple. We've dropped 10% in number of cases older than a year in the past 4 years, and we're also gone up 11% in cases disposed within 6 months. So
It's great.
it's been good.
And Nate, I want
Yeah.
to say one more thing about I don't want the record to state that the judges blew the budget. The fact is that the judges just happen to have things that come up that are not accounted for in the budget from
Right.
time to time. Because I know in talking with every one of those judges that they work very hard to keep those costs in line. So
They
I just-
do.
I didn't want to.
Yes, and those costs are really honestly required, right? I mean, you're required to fund indigent defense. Indigent defense is what it is. The cost is what it is. You know, the judges have tried to do better, getting in better contracts. You know, so they're doing their part. I don't. When I said that, please take into mind.
Yeah.
Most of that is required by statute that they're providing indigent defense.
Yeah. And I just wanted to remind as well that it is a very tight budget. It's constantly throwing a dart at a dartboard when it comes to how many cases, you know, felony and misdemeanor are going to be filed this next year. I will say that if the district attorney projections bear out of 15 to 25%, the preliminary budget, as we've been discussing, may not be entirely sufficient. We might have to come back at a certain point and say, you know, we're going to need money to fund this.
Understand.
Anyways. So on page 139, we have my office, Office of Court Administration. This year, I'm asking to consolidate these two departments in the budget so that we have a greater coordination and control over it. There has been historically an Office of Indigent Defense and an Office of Court Administration. Indigent Defense was created first. My office was created second. I oversee the people that work in that office. This would help us to, and we can track these costs differently than we are now. Right now, it's anything that's in that department. We're reporting to the state as a cost of providing indigent defense, you know, to the county, a cost of the county. What I'm proposing is that we just track it differently, put them into one department. Yeah.
So on page 134, what he's talking about is you can see that it's blank on page 134 for the request. All of those requests have been moved up into a regular department. We're not
In the court administration.
Court administration 4659.
4659.
And so it's not that he didn't request anything for indigent defense for the salaries and you know the people that are working on those.
Yeah.
It's just that he moved the department.
Understand. And you're good with that?
You put that in the preliminary budget.
Oh yeah, it's way better for us and in the new finance system to do that now, since we're trying to build the finance system, the bones of it, and so yeah, it's a lot better.
Good job.
Okay.
Part of that, with that, I'm asking, I've been in the job since 2013, and if you look on your screen, everything that's in blue are job responsibilities that I did not have when I came here in 2013. The Board of Judges, and this is how you know that it's true, unanimously, the Board of Judges unanimously asked me to request a position in this year's budget. A personnel modification form was sent to HR. This is not in the preliminary budget, but HR set a salary of $40,824. The Board of Judges have noted that there are certain things that I'm supposed to be doing, including some statutory transparency mandates that are not happening in a timely fashion. In other words, we're supposed to have stuff reported by the 15th of the month for the courts as a whole, and it doesn't always happen on the 15th of the month because I've got so much stuff going on. So I'm asking the court to approve the creation of a position for my office.
At this point, I can't support that. The budget is so tight, and where we focused so far this year, I don't think I'll be able to support that, and it's not in the budget currently.
It is not in the current budget.
And I've talked to some of the district, or at least a district judge, maybe two, and my understanding is if they know it's a tight year and that we've got some things going on. I think it's going to be hard to fund this year.
Yeah,
Here's a consideration.
Yeah.
With all the constables, the sheriff, the DA, we've added people because of the creation of a new activity.
Correct.
You guys are asking for one person,
This is the only new position for all the
and
courts.
you're at the tail end of all that activity, correct?
Correct.
We're asking for one, and the average of those guys is anywhere from 90 to 100 $60,000. You're asking for $40,800 for the court.
The-
I would recommend we do it. We
The
put
whole,
it in.
the whole position with benefits and everything is 61,202.
Yeah, especially with the increase of activity.
And I think one of the reasons that the judges in their meeting asked me to request it is because we do have a new district court coming online.
Yeah,
And there has been
not
job
to,
creep.
to discount what
coming.
Commissioner Nowak saying. We're trying to cut this thing close. We're trying to keep numbers down. But we have so much activity.
Can't win them all.
I concur.
We have a concurrence.
Okay, so I'm getting a flavor of the court that they do want us
Yes.
to put this in the proposed budget. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all. Thank you.
Nate, are you going to go over the new court? Do we want to do that? Okay.
I have the next one is
Okay,
judicial
cool.
compensation, but and you
The
can-
total cost of the clerk is what?
61,202. It's an administrative assistant one.
Admin one. Okay. Thought it said clerk somewhere. But.
Thank you all. So judicial compensation, House Bill 2384 basically reorganized the way that judges are paid in the state, and it's now based on longevity.
Do we have any choice in this? Right.
There's a little bit of discretion
We'll go.
if you listen.
Let's let Nate
That's what I
finish,
was
and then
gonna
we'll
ask.
go over.
If we have to do it, I was going to say let's just go.
Yeah, let's.
Statute.
You do have some options, so let's let Nate finish, and then we'll go over that piece of it.
So so it's now based on longevity, and I have it here on the chart our current judges, CCL judges, when they were first sworn in. The maximum salary now for a CCL judge in the entire state of Texas is $193,400. The amount that Judge Laird and Judge Stewart, who have been here with less time, would be $185,000 even. The max, so the budgeted amount in the preliminary budget right now is $181,000 for all five of them. So this would mean that with this framework, with the three oldest, I say oldest
Well,
judges.
10 years.
I shouldn't say oldest judges. The three judges who've been here the longest, making the maximum, and with Judge Stewart and Judge Laird making less, the total hit would be $45,200.
So
Do that.
Watson, Turner, and McDonald are already there.
They've been here longer than 12
They're
years.
at 193?
Well, no. So are you talking about their current salary? Or are you talking about
Current
what?
salary is 181.
You say
They don't-
annual salary. I don't know what
Current
it
salary
is.
is 179.
Don't talk about the preliminary, because that was very preliminary.
Okay. I don't know what their current salary is.
And this is only CCLs. This is not district judges.
Correct. District judges, that's been appropriated by the state, and they didn't change their supplement that the county provides to them. So that's
Does
not
the county have to provide a supplement? Or I'm just
That's the discussion we were going to talk on the
Right.
county.
Okay, all right.
The CCLs is.
wait. The
He's
CCLs. or-
talking about the district
I
judges.
know, but the CCL it relates to the CCLs too.
Okay.
So just that's the options I was giving you is. But the district attorneys, you don't. I mean, the district judges. My understanding is you do not have a say in that. I think it's in statute what the actual supplement was.
Speak up.
The state pays for 60% of the CCL salary, but the statute, the House Bill 2384, made it the 60% of the base salary of a district judge.
So we should just
which is
do
140,
this.
as you can see up there as a first term, or 154 or 168, or yeah.
Are you talking about for the district judges?
For
or
no,
CCLs?
for the CCL judges, do this and leave the district judges pay how they are. The state pays.
So yeah,
what
we
they
don't
pay
pay
them.
we don't pay the district judges. So the way that you currently adopt a salary for the CCLs, you don't adopt a salary or a supplement. I mean, you don't adopt a stipend or a supplement. You adopt the salary as a whole, right? If you were to break it out, you are going to actually have to start breaking out a base salary and a supplement. And then we can make it whatever you want. But I'm just saying, like, currently the county doesn't adopt the salary with a stipend. So you can kind of.
You do it how you need to, but let's go with what the state says. So two of them are at 181 and the rest are at 193,400.
What you're recommending is all at 193.4, correct?
I'm recommending that the three that have been here the longest make 193.4, and that Judge Stewart and Judge Laird make 185 next.
Oh, yeah, okay,
for
I'm looking
next
at
year.
the top, bottom of the sheet, yeah.
I mean, if that's,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah,
by
yeah,
the
yeah.
statute, that's what we need to do.
So there is some distinct argument that they should all be making 185 instead of separating the tiers out. But that's
Right.
the way that they're reading it is that there's discretion.
Who is
let
they?
you
Is
talk
it
about
you or?
Right. You can pay all of them at 185, right? That's all the statute requires is that you pay them at a minimum of 185.
Okay.
If you wanted to reflect what the district judges are doing, then you would make up that difference between the 185 and the 193.4 with what they call a supplement.
But we don't have any district judges making 193.4.
So-
You don't pay the district judges right now. Though all that's paid by
Even so, that
But-
is a state
right.
issue. For this issue, Stewart, the two bottom judges, they're right now at 181, right?
What 179 and
Or 179.
Oh.
So by moving to that number, they're getting
They get
the
a raise.
raise, and it's
They're
taking
getting-
into account the tenure of the others,
So
which have been here longer.
pay them all 185.
No.
I
No,
think the
the
judge is wanting to do it
193.4.
based on tenure, which you
Yeah.
can, but you're not required to. You're required to fund it at the minimum, which is the 185.
Yeah.
One of the things that changed as well is that the statute used to say that you could not pay a county court of law less than $1,000 of what a district judge makes. Now it's created it to a cap of it can't be paid more than. So there's no longer a floor. There's a ceiling.
It is very, very
What do we
confusing.
have-
And
what do we
Yeah.
have
So
to
what you're
pay
saying-
them?
you have
We
to
can
pay
get by-
185.
We have to pay them 185.
You
Pay them that.
you could pay the ones that have been here longer the
Understand.
193.4.
Let's just pay them
Which
185.
is what they're
and call it a
requesting.
day.
Which is what they're
Satisfy the
requesting.
statute by paying them 185 apiece.
Say it one more time.
We can satisfy the statute.
We could satisfy the
by paying
statute,
them
but you
180.
won't satisfy the CCL judges.
Well, they make a lot. They make
This
less
is
than
the
that
CCL
now.
judge's request right here. Is that
I don't make any more
that
than
there's
these guys.
Go
'cause
ahead.
I've been here for
Yeah.
50 years.
Yeah, I say 185. 185 should be the pay for the.
Okay,
for
that's what I meant earlier when I said you guys
Good
have some
call.
options. You do have
you.
a few. Okay.
Is that the consensus?
What if we tied the commissioner's salary to equal the county court of
Please.
law?
No comment.
Are you sure you're going to retire at that point then?
Okay.
Yeah, 185 it is, I guess.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
And now, just out of
so-
curiosity, what does a district judge make? Nobody's telling.
So
you?
yeah, so they basically whatever the tier. Oh, maybe he has it. They make
Yeah.
1,000 more than the CCL with a similar.
So now they're going
years
to
of
make
service.
186.
Well, if it's a starting judge,
If they've been there that long, yes.
All right. So 185 is our max that we're paying.
We have CCLs who've been here a long time.
Got it.
As a group, the district judges we've had,
And-
3 new ones in the past 2 years.
And Commissioner
3 years.
Metter now makes that much.
So generally, the district and the county courts are in agreement with the budget office's preliminary budget for their individual departments. These are the exceptions. The 418th asked that the printing costs that were cut be restored by $625. This is due to Tim Parks, one of their employees' death last year, and the need to replace that coordinator, as well as his associate judge getting married and having to change her name. So they need to do a new printing of stationery and new business cards. This doesn't happen every year, but it will happen this year. So they're needing that restoration. CCL 4 is asking for restoration of the $825 that was cut in the preliminary budget, knowing that next year they wanted to purchase furniture. And the 359th is asking for $900 restored in professional development because she does go to these conferences that require us to pay up front, but they get reimbursed by Texas Center for the Judiciary or some other entity.
and what she's worried about is if she, for some reason, doesn't get reimbursed, then she wouldn't have the budget to go. So it's kind of, she's saying, look, more than likely I'll get my conference covered, but if in the event that I don't, I will need some money.
You just bring it to us as a contingency item. I mean,
And I mean, if you guys are, I just need a little consensus right now. If you guys are okay with that, I can do. If she ends up not getting I can do a budget transfer because it's under the 3,000
Yeah.
and give her the money from contingency or non-departmental.
Do that.
Okay.
Makes it easy.
And the same with the other costs as well,
It's up to you guys.
Yeah, just do it that way. Just if they need it and use it.
if they get up to that point.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit of money.
Okay. So the new district court, it is effective September 1 of this year. I'm not saying we have a person.
No, I
I'm
didn't
just saying
know it was.
the court was created, and it's effective September 1. Current thinking is that the governor is going to appoint whoever the winner of the Republican primary runoff would be, which would be in June of 2020. What I'm asking for, the budget office had done a full-scale projection of what it would cost for 3 months of the fiscal year to start in July with a new judge and staff and everything. I don't think that we want to necessarily do that. I'd like to ask for a small supplies and services budget, about $3,000, to allow the newly appointed judge to just start working using existing staff in another court, and that would help the civil judges, especially. Judge Bays is still straining under the load of cases that she has, even though she's doing a marvelous job. She would really like this person to start just being able to sign orders, and we can do that with about a $1,000 supplies budget and a $500 travel budget
Recommend we do that.
and $1,000. One of the things that we want to talk about with what the effect, Commissioner Meadow, you said, where are we going to put them? We currently have the old 410th, which is our overflow courtroom. It's where the criminal courts handle their dockets while they're in trial. I've received a lot of requests this year for things like counsel table chairs, jury room chairs, and some remodel projects. The 435th remodel, the CCL4 remodel, and the jury assembly room remodel have all been quoted by building maintenance, so those totals are in there. The office and counsel table chairs amount there for the 221st and 359th have been quoted out as well. And then Judge Gilbert came to me after I submitted the budget and said, "Hey, I'd like to do something with remodel." So I rounded up essentially and said, I don't know how much that's going to cost.
Why are we remodeling all
yeah.
this stuff? I don't get it.
So CCL4 wanted specifically to add more clerk tables and chairs for their dockets. They have large dockets and they have mental health dockets as well.
So you got to remodel to do that?
I'm sorry.
I mean,
But-
they can't put a pop-up table, just a card table in there when they need it. I'm just thinking. I mean, we spend a lot of time and money on these courtrooms. I mean, Tim, how many times do we remodel courtrooms?
Every time we turn around, we're remodeling.
I say no. Yeah,
So-
buy some card tables and shift them around.
So,
So the reason I mentioned the jury assembly room specifically is because that the idea is to have that be the new jury assembly room. Because if you don't have an extra courtroom, the dockets on the felony side slow down. They're 70% of your jail, and all of a sudden you have a hard time keeping the jail from being full.
So the 15,000 for the jury assembly build out, we talked with the auditor's office. We think that would be a request if you guys wanted to fund that out of CIP. We can bring it tomorrow for CIP workshop to see if that's something you guys wanted to fund. The other ones, if you guys are wanting to do that, you would need to have an operational line in the budget for the remainder of the items. The 15,000 is the only project we see on that list now that would qualify for CIP.
Now tell me,
talking-
Nate, what did you just say about an assembly room and people in jail?
So the jury assembly room right now is over in the Keyshan building. It's used pretty much on Mondays for jury panels to assemble and for them to be farmed out to the courts. It's not generally used Tuesday through Friday. The thinking is we can use that courtroom for dockets. We can bring inmates and bonded defendants, bring them there with their attorneys, and we can hold court there. The issue is the bench is pretty much like this podium, It doesn't have, places for clerks, places for the court reporters, places for things like that. It doesn't have counsel tables in the front, and it doesn't have the technology hookup that's necessary to run the felony dockets in that room. So IT is built into its budget. I think it's $81,000 in. Is that right? Is Bobby here? Yes, sir. About $81,000 for rehabbing the jury assembly room so that we can hold dockets in there Tuesday through Friday. Because generally we don't have dockets Monday. But
How much are we going to spend
Yeah.
to be able to hold dockets on one day a week?
to hold dockets on one
Or
day.
have a courtroom for one day a week? Is that what you're telling me?
No. I'm saying it's used one day per week now. What we're doing is expand it. We're being able to expand it to 5 days.
But-
5
What
days
you're
per week.
requesting on this is across the board in different courtrooms. It's not
Correct.
for
No,
one court.
right. No, what I'm asking is CCL4 wants to remodel to add more space for their clerks. 435th wants to move their court reporter to a different location in the courtroom because they're having a hard time.
And didn't
How much should-
we remodeled the 435th? Not when did we finish that? I say no.
3 years ago.
How much did Judge Bays put up of her own money in order to get things that she needed for her court?
I don't have that record.
Do we have a number on that?
She did.
I mean, she did. She put up a bunch of money herself because of the needs that she had.
2 or 3,000 is
We're
what I would, is kind of what I'm thinking, but
Nonetheless, she
it's
did it
still
herself.
yeah, absolutely.
More than that.
And we're talking $30,000, the amount of equipment that we do. We're talking boats. We're talking all kinds of things, sir. That is nothing for what they're asking to do, given what Judge Bays did.
Judge,
Only
with all due
talking
respect,
$30,000.
You haven't been here for the 8 years where this is every year. We remodel these courtrooms all the time.
Well, no,
we
but-
just remodeled.
Well, let me, but
and they're asking
It-
for
it-
it.
And I
again.
can
Generally
appreciate
with a new
that.
judge, but
Let
yeah.
me finish.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that, Commissioner, without a doubt. I haven't been here. But you know what? I can see, and I do walk around, and I do go and sit in these courts, and I see what's going on. I see needs. They tell me needs when I go.
Okay.
I went to see you. I spent time over there.
Yes, you did.
You walked me around. We need this, this, this. And, there are things that need to be changed. And for the small amount of money it is, that's peanuts in the scheme of things compared to what we're spending on things.
Correct.
In my judgment, I'll go with wherever you guys want to go. I won't have any choice, but I would
Well,
recommend we spend the money and let's get on with it.
If we don't have a new courthouse in the plans, we need to maintain what we have.
And I say no.
So in what the request is 15,000 in operations, and then we'll have a $15,000 CIP request for tomorrow.
Let's talk about CIP if we have that.
15,000 is that would have to be funded out of operations if you
I'd rather
decided.
do it out of CIP.
So
Do that
what was the
15 out of there?
suggestion?
Yeah.
So that basically means you're probably going to do the assembly room build out, but not the other 4 options. The other 4 options would need to be paid out of the operating funds.
And it's for tables.
Well,
Well, so
We
there,
can't use
there
card
are
tables
2
in there.
remodels
I mean,
in there,
come on.
but they're smaller remodels than.
What's a remodel?
we're
Tell
using
me what
one
that's
right
going to be.
here.
So CCL4 is asking for additional, tables, essentially.
That's not a
like
remodel.
build out. It's not a remodel, but I didn't have another word for it necessarily in this presentation.
Furniture.
Moving built-in furniture around and adding built-in tables.
So
How many
that-
courtrooms are affected by this?
2. Okay.
Got the 221st, 359,
you have
435th.
Yeah, but as far as the office chairs and the council table chairs, that's that's the 221st and the 359th specifically are asking.
Okay, and the
for.
435th.
And 435th is specifically so the court reporter can take a better record during
CCL4.
during
I mean,
trial.
these are in the same places.
If you guys were entertaining this idea, this is what I would do as your budget officer. I would put my conversations with Nate has been, look, he gets these requests every year, and he comes to you every year with these things. Start with an amount, whether it be 5,000, 7,500, 10,000, whatever the amount is. I wouldn't do the full 15, and then every year that's part of their operating budget for court operations is $10,000 towards whatever remodels, and then that puts the burden on. I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
puts the burden on Nate to figure out out of the 10,000 what he can afford to do and what he can't afford to do.
Yeah.
And then you never have to have this conversation about every year we come back, every year somebody comes, that's the end of it. Every year it's built into the budget, $10,000. That's the remodels still come to court because you guys still have to approve everything that, building
So,
maintenance does.
Give them
That makes sense.
$10,000 and buy the
Do whatever-
359th and the 221st chairs and tables of the.
Whatever Nate decided to do, that's what I would do, is just say, here's the 10,000, let the courts figure that out.
And don't come back.
That's fine. Yak,
Please.
yak, right?
All right.
And then we're going to do the assembly room tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the
about that
assembly room
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
About the CIP.
Okay.
Yeah, because it sounds
Thank
like
you.
it's more
That's a
than
good idea.
just 15,000 if it's
Sure.
81,000 over there. So
No, that jury assembly room is a big project, and
Well,
it's definitely the most
I don't
needed
think we
one.
have much choice. We got to do something.
That's right.
We're going to have a new district court, so. Okay.
Okay,
Any questions?
So
we're good?
just to recap, are you done, Nate? Is that
I'm
all-
done with my
Okay.
portion.
So we have court operations, $150,000 increase for the appointed attorneys.
no, I thought you were going to wait and do.
You want to
that
wait and do
middle
that
of the
mid-year?
year. Yeah.
Okay. The court, you guys said yes to the administrative assistant. And then right now we have $0 in the preliminary budget for that new 457th district court. Nate can probably help out here, but I've
Does it come
gotten,
in September?
September. Well, so the court is created in statute September 1, 2019.
Right.
The idea is that they would run for the 2020 in the 2020 primary,
Okay.
and then be appointed by the governor, hopefully in July or June, whenever the primary,
so we
whenever the runoff happens. Yeah.
we expect it to be somewhere between June, July. It could be,
They could be here standing, whoever that person is, standing here in front of you next.
So whether or not
next
you
year.
want to put part of that into the budget right now, if you do want to do that, then it needs to be about 83,336.
I think we need to wait, deal with mid-year, see
I think it's a perfect mid-year just because we'll
Yeah.
have a better idea
I
of
agree.
probably
that
what
item right
For
now.
sure.
it's going to do with the governor,
fine.
and
Yeah,
maybe
yeah, we'll see.
we can call the OCA department and see if they can give us some feedback too. The
Agree.
OCA budget department and see if they can help us out.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right.
Good job, Nate.
Is that it, Nate?
Appreciate it.
That's
Tell the
it.
judge good job.
Thank
Thank
you all.
you very much.
Appreciate it very much.
Let's break for lunch.